Are we all set here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, sir. All right, welcome, let me call to order the August 27th meeting of the Albany County Legislature's Public Works Committee. Jury council, will you please take the roll call, thank you, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Ricard.
Present.
Mayo. Cleary.
Here.
Fine. Andrew Joyce, Reinhardt, and Smith are excused. Larilliard. Here. And Bergdorf.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is to approve the previous month's minutes. Did everyone have a chance to read them? Is there another motion on? Mr. Cleary makes a motion. Mr. Mayo seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, the second item on the agenda, would you please read that?
Item 2 is requesting the Department of General Services to conduct an economic impact study regarding the placement of public use electric vehicle chargers at all county properties, including vacant parcels.
Would any of the legislators like to comment on that? Mr. Draper?
I'm sponsoring that legislation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I just, this is as a result of, we passed a similar legislation just kind of to look for feasibility of placing public, or it's not clear on whether it's public use or publicly owned EV chargers in the city of Albany. So one of the things that I brought up at the time was that I thought it would be helpful if we could quantify the cost of those sites and what would, the cost of installing EV chargers, as well as the maintenance cost, as well as what benefits would be provided and what the offsets would be. So meaning, is a customer going to come up and pay, or is this just for county employees and vehicles? Is it, what is it for? So basically, there was a comment made, it may have been by the sponsor, that said, well, if we do a cost study, it'll be obsolete by the time we use it. And I thought that was a strange thing to say. So I didn't understand why. So this resolution essentially directs DGS to go out and find out what it costs. There was some commentary in the general meeting wherein that resolution passed, disagreeing that some of these things are quite costly. And, rather than take my word for it or anybody else's, I thought it'd be helpful if the Department of General Services can be the authority on that and tell us what it is going to cost and what the long-term maintenance would be, as well as the cost to improve these sites to accommodate vehicles and to accommodate the chargers, power, installation of meters, additional services for the electric, and all those things. So there's quite a bit involved with just kind of popping up an electrical vehicle charging site. It's similar to building a gas station. There's just no gas.
Sure.
So the idea here is to quantify this so that we can understand and figure out what the funding sources will be, or whether they are going to be self-sustaining, and they might be. So I'm hoping that I can get the committee's support on this, and I'll move this out with a favorable recommendation to ask DGS to continue their study in addition to locating spaces, finding out what it will cost.
All right. Now, a couple things that point of order, or I should say, to clarify. You're talking about the legislation that we approved last month, which was Resolution 374, right?
Yeah.
And that was sponsored by legislator Peto.
Yes.
Okay. So that was just a point of clarification. I understand you want to get clarification on the cost. I'm all for getting clarification the cost, but it might be a little before. We don't know specifically where these charging stations are going to be located. Furthermore, if they're in Cohoes, Colony, and or Bethlehem, as an example, the cost might be a little different depending on the situation. So that's just my personal observation on it. But I don't know, do any of the legislators like to make a comment on it, or on this?
Can I respond to that before they make another
Absolutely,
comment? Yes. Paul, let me just, if you don't mind. 374, I thought was talking about specifically the City of Albany neighborhoods at the time, and I may be wrong.
Would you like to clarify that?
Would you please?
No, it was countywide.
It was kind of, okay.
It was countywide.
In any event, the idea, just to clarify on my end, is if you're going to go out and identify sites, let's say you identify 10 sites, then we would go ahead and use those sites to create the cost feasibility study. All right, so you wouldn't be picking it out of the air if you picked one Main Street. One Main Street would also get a cost impact study.
Sure.
Also, and generically speaking, DGS could easily go through the machinations of figuring out the cost of a one-head or two-head charger, four-head charger, eight-head charger, whatever it is, or if that's the right word, it might be pump or whatever you call it, but connection. Those things are pretty generic. There's programs out there through NYSERDA, that are available to both municipal and corporate or private, properties to do a commercial application. This should be distinguished from residential application, which I think Ms. McLean-Lean brought up on the floor, which are less expensive, but they're for your garage and not for public use and high volume or any of those other things. So a DGS could do generic work based on the cost of the equipment and then site-specific cost feasibility as they develop where the sites would be that are in, have found to be a favorable location. So to your point, I wanted to clarify that that was the intent.
Okay, Mr. Gerber.
Yeah, I don't think this is an extraordinary request, only because there are a lot of municipal models that exist today. Just today on Facebook, Colony opened up a electric charging station at the Sanford Library. I don't think it would be very hard for Susan or I to get a hold of the town and say, hey, what'd you spend? How much did it cost you to build it? What kind of programs were out there? What are you charging for it, et cetera. I know I had some conversations months ago with the chairwoman. They've got the same thing at Bethlehem Town Hall they built, and they charge for it. So we're not the first municipality to come up with the question, what does it cost to develop a electric charging station, which is a good thing, assuming from my point of view that we amortize those costs and build it back in. I don't think anybody is subsidizing electric vehicles like giving away free gas or anything, building a station and giving away free gas. And I am all for building facilities that will have, economic neutrality if it will help expand electronic vehicles. Sure. So I don't think this is a hard thing to do. I will say that I was a little troubled by some of the debate that happened last time. Todd's in the business of developing commercial property. Sure. He expressed the opinion that a charging station would cost $50,000. And someone was saying, no, my charging station in my garage only cost $1,000. Well, that's not what you're going to build at a commercial location. You're going to build a commercial facility that's got to stand the test of time. And then there was also some dichotomy on the cost. Oh, I charge my car for $2. Well, I have from another source who uses the Bethlehem location that it was $18.81 to fill up their vehicle with gas. So I think we kind of need to understand what we're getting ourselves into before we go out and pick random lots that may not have access to electricity.
The only thing I'm going to add to that, and I don't want to cut you off, but
no, I'm done. Thank you, Bill.
We don't know if we're going to have any of them needed at any municipality or anywhere once we do this study that Susan has put forward last month. So I don't know if it's going to be necessary. So, but let me go on to the other legislators.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to add, I think the purpose of that resolution that passed was to just do an initial survey of what county-owned properties may be available for this type of an EV charging station. I think this gets ahead of what you're proposing, way ahead of that. So I would be in favor of one, just waiting and seeing, what, if in fact there are available properties, and from there, possibly guide what would then happen after that. I do take issue with the one whereas clause you have in here, the second one that looks kind of, written in a way that doesn't, implies that the initial resolution was not taking account long-term fiscal sustainability, blah, blah, blah. I think that is a little bit, the wording of that I take issue with. I think that the point of the first resolution was just to have a look-see to see what's maybe available, where the need would be based on local municipalities who may not have be fortunate to have a charging station like the town of Colony at the library. And I don't know what other ones are available in Colony, so I think, I would take a slow approach on this, and I think this is unnecessary at this time.
Let me get a couple of, does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Fine, do you have any questions, or anybody else?
No questions.
Okay. Go ahead. Whatever. Anything we said, yeah.
So it sounds like the objection in this committee might be that we're too forward-thinking. So couldn't we simply change the wording that says, upon identification of potential sites of need or interest, then it directs DGS, rather than get a need site and then wait 3 months to pass a resolution asking them to find out how much it costs? Couldn't we simply create language here that might satisfy parties with concerns that makes it based on whether or not a need or site is located?
I guess I just don't understand why it's necessary at this time, until we determine exactly, going back to Susan's legislation.
Hence the if clause.
Go ahead.
Would a contractor build a home not knowing whether there was septic or sewer or water availability? No. Let's just see if the site is feasible.
Right.
There's a certain amount of due diligence you have to do. If you pick a site on a corner that doesn't have access to electricity, you're talking about bringing in major lines. I don't understand the hesitance here. This is kind of like the migrants. Nobody wants to know what it costs.
Well, let's get back on
Just
track.
wants to do it.
That's not got anything to do.
Okay, well, it's the same thing, because we can find out, Dave Latino or someone on his staff can make 5 telephone calls tomorrow afternoon and ask 5 municipalities how much they spent to develop their sites. But nobody here wants to know that. That strikes me as odd.
You have a right to your opinion. Would somebody like to make a motion on this?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
There seems to be some...
What is your motion specifically?
Mike, there seems to be some disagreement here, so I won't ask that it go out favorably. I ask that it just be reported to the floor.
Okay, does somebody want to second that motion? Is there any other motions on the table? Or would somebody else like to make another motion?
Unbelievable.
You should have brought free wine.
Would somebody like to make a motion to move it out favorably or unfavorably?
Point of information, if no motions are made, does it just die?
No, it stays in the committee, so
I'll make a
they have a right
motion.
to.
Make a motion to send it out unfavorably.
Okay, would somebody like to second that?
Motion to table it until next month.
Okay. Any more discussion on that?
I'm not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right,
How embarrassing.
it's not embarrassing, Mr. Burgess.
It really is.
You have a right to your opinion.
That's my
Item 3
opinion.
is authorizing an agreement with Barton and Judas regarding design and construction administration for the sludge processing improvement project. Mr. Gaudio?
Thank you, everybody. Yes, we're seeking approval to enter into a contract with Barton & Judas, as indicated for our sludge processing improvement project. This will be for engineering design, construction observations, and just construction administration services. The dollar value for the contract is $8,070,000. The estimated contract term is 3 years or until completion. We are anticipating funding this through Environmental Facilities Corporation. The finance application has been submitted, and hopefully we'll be receiving that toward the end of this year. Incidentally, the IUP listing, the intended use plan, came out this week. We are still earmarked for a $25 million grant through Environmental Facilities Corporation, and we are also looking at a $25 million 0% interest loan through EFC as well for this project. So again, hopefully we'll be moving to close on those grants toward the end of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Would any of the legislators like to comment on this? Mr. Vine?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will this address the reported smells that have been happening as a result?
As part of this, we are looking at odors. We have already been having discussions with Barton & Judas specific to odors, so we are looking at a couple different technologies, and that will be kind of vetted out kind of as the design progresses. So yes, we will be looking at that. and kind of keep everybody obviously updated as to kind of where we stand with the design and the implementation of systems. So I guess on that topic, we have been talking to DC. We will be in, hopefully this week, instituting a complaint questionnaire on our website that will be available to residents, so that if anyone does have any observances of odor, they can go on our website and kind of fill out a complaint form, which will kind of identify time, location, any prevalent weather information as well, so that we can start tracking that and see if we can correlate that to specific activities, at our facility.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that that's going to be considered in the design.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Vine. Any other questions? Somebody like to make a motion on this item? Mr. Mayo makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cleary seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody.
Item 4 is authorizing an agreement with Gallo Construction Corp. regarding structural restoration to the MVP Arena parking garage. Commissioner Latino is here.
Good evening, Jim.
Hi, Mr. Latina. How are you?
Good. We'd like to enter into contract with Gallo on a restoration of the steel underneath the panels at the MVP Arena on the Beaver Street entrance. We had a panel slide there some time ago, and they were the most responsive builder for $323,500, and we added a 20% contingency on there of $64,700 for a total amount of $388,200.
Okay. Any legislators have any comment on this? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Mr. Cleary made a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Larillier, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 5 is authorizing a renewal agreement with New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets regarding reimbursement for fuel sample testing and inspection at retail fuel outlets.
Yes, this is an ongoing contract that we have in New York State. It's a 5-year contract this time. They set the pricing on when we do the fuel samplings, and they reimburse us for the fuel samplings, and this goes into the general fund.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any comment on this? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Mr. Mayor makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Larillier seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 6 is authorizing an agreement with Harold R. Clune regarding electrical construction for the MVP Arena staircase enclosure project.
Yes, actually, this is the one before. The next one is actually for the general construction portion of the staircase. This is the electrical portion of enclosing the staircases at the MVP Arena. We've had a lot of problems with bird, trying to get rid of birds out of there and keeping them out of there, so this is an enclosure to keep all the staircases clean. They were the most responsive bidder at base bid of $155,000 and a $15,500 for not to exceed $170,500.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Mr. Cleary made the motion. Do I have a second? I'll go with that. Legislator Larillier, because you got a lot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 7 is authorizing an agreement with Murnane Building Contractors regarding general construction services for the MVP Arena staircase enclosure project.
This Murnane was the lowest responsive bidder on this project to enclose the staircases at the MVP Arena. Their base bid was $1.534 million, and we have a contingency in there of $153,400 for a total price of $1.687 million for the enclosure at the arena. Close the staircases.
Okay. Do any of the legislators have any comment on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Mr. Cleary, seconded by Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Before I conclude this, thank you.
Oh, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we're all set. Appreciate everything you did.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chairman Good. I just wanted to let the committee know that last week, several members of the Public Works Committee toured the Department of Public Works facility out in Voorheesville. We had a really great tour with the Commissioner, Lisa Raimondo, met her staff. They're doing some great work out there, engaging in a lot of cost-saving strategies, which I was really glad to see, and I just want to thank Commissioner Raimondo and her staff for taking the time for us all to be out there last week.
Yeah, I totally agree with your sentiments there. I appreciate it. I forgot to acknowledge Chair, I'll get to you, Chairwoman Cunningham. Do you have any comments or anything?
No, I'm good, thank you, though.
Thank you. What would you want to say?
Just a point of information. Given the fact that you didn't want to go forward to understand the economic impact of that item, I'll have our staff and myself pull some information together, and I'll be explaining it, and maybe Todd will, and others will be on the floor in great length, and you can put your fingers in your ears if you don't want to know what the numbers are, or close your eyes and walk out of the room. But, you know, I can't believe that
Well, we get your point.
this committee
That-
could go forward with
That's your
something
prerogative.
without knowing what it costs.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Cleary makes a motion, second by Mr. Mayo. I call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.